Okay, so in this one, I actually have quite a bit to talk about. I think there's lots to discuss for a supporter for ELLs and children with other disabilities in the class. Before I get started on that, I wanted to do some background information. So what I found was that on Stats Canada, from 2006 to 2011, 1.1 million people immigrated to Canada, and that really shocked me, especially like about this class because a lot of the students like in classrooms now don't have English as a first language. Um, the other part that really shocked me that was Asia, including Middle East, was Canada's largest source of immigrants in the last 5 years. So because of that, I took this research one step further and I actually looked into Asian culture and I found this really great article by Carter in 2006. So what he did was compare Latino versus African Americans versus Asians, and what they found that Asians had a very heavy dents for academic learning that put a lot of pressure on these students. So when I was thinking of the different ways that we could support ELLs, I think a big one would be trust. Like I couldn't imagine coming to a new country and not knowing many people, and then all of a sudden you're forced to learn this new language. So I think being able to trust like your teacher and your peers and have a good sense of belonging. Teachers that are able to build that connection with their students, it relieves stress from the students. I'll leave the article source in the PowerPoint, but it relieves stress from them, it reduces anxiety, and it promotes healthy mental health. And I think a lot of these students that are ELLs don't have that support system, and depending like if they are new immigrants or not, my grandparents immigrated to Canada, and when they first came, they were working night and day, so my parents weren't looked after all the time, and they were pretty independent. So it just takes a big toll on these children, and I think like also having like their background knowledge of what happens in their everyday life is also really important to know as a teacher, and like be able to like have that venting sessions and connecting, because I think if you trust the person, you'll be able to learn a lot better. So that being said, Gibbon's 2015 textbook had some really awesome ideas to be able to support these learners. First off, since now we're in such a big technology age and this is possible, I think depending on their skill, if they don't know any English, there's no point of speaking them directly in English because that just could be way too overwhelming. So I think if it's possible, like I know they have like Google Translator and other programs that you can buy depending what like the school can afford for this, but is to use their mother tongue to introduce like whatever we're working on. So in this case, we're doing the seeds, so it would be great for me to have the lesson plan typed out and I could copy and paste it in whatever language the children are using at that time. Another great thing for any students would just be like color code things and have lots of pictures and diagrams. This lets people like visually see. I was really thinking about like the different learners in this section, because obviously even like if you learn a different language, you're still learners with like hands-on things. I think because it's a science experience, you're able to like do sensory things. You'd be able to touch the seeds and plant them and like understand like the different fuel that a plant needs, like water and oxygen. So I think being able to also show that and have videos would also really help as well. And the last thing I want to talk about for support for ELLs as well is encouragement. And in Cole Ho's, sorry for pronouncing that wrong, 2004 textbook, the one from our class, they talked about being really cautious of like correcting students right off the bat, because like that would be really intimidating and it could hurt their self-esteem. The article I was talking about before, like having mental health is huge now, and obviously like there's been lots of stigmas that are trying to be erased, but I think Colho 2004 did a great job on emphasizing that children need to make these mistakes and it's okay, and then we shouldn't always be on them because you want them to experience the language themselves versus someone always doing it for him. Gibson's 2015 also mentioned this. But overall, I think really having that community and trust support in place and having subtle guidelines and hints in order to learn easier. I wouldn't say like directly at these students. I think a lot of other students, because there's obviously different academic levels and skills and strengths and weaknesses in a class, that all students could benefit from this and not leaving anyone secluded and everyone be included.